what I just heard you say is you guys built a $10 million plus business without a project management tool, just with email and direct messages.
Well, we did have it. We just weren't using it to its full value. I'll put it that way.
Because your problems are just unique to you and you're experiencing it once, but an agency is working with dozens of clients at a time. So their learnings are coming in 12 times, faster. And it is often that they know exactly what's going on as opposed to having to troubleshoot it.
That's a good point. I think that that external perspective is often, undervalued.
Honest Ecommerce is a weekly podcast where we interview direct-to-consumer brand founders and leaders to find out what it takes to start, grow, and scale an online business today. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Honest Ecommerce. Today, I'm welcoming to the show an amazing gentleman. Eugene Chew is the Global Chief Operating Officer at BikesOnline.com. Eugene, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Chase. Glad to be here.
I'm excited. We're talking about it in the pre-show, and I always like to shout out the events that I meet folks at. So we met at eTail West in Palm Springs of this year. Did you enjoy yourself at the show?
It's a great show. I always enjoy eTail. It's a bit more intimate than Shop Talk. You get to spend more quality time with people.
That's a great way to describe it. Shop Talk is intimate. Isn't a way I think anyone would ever describe Shop Talk.
Intense,
unless you're going to maybe one of the private dinners or something. Then it's a little more intimate there.
Yeah.
So for those that are unaware, what are the types of products you're selling at BikesOnline.com?
Oh, it's all in the name. And I guess it shows like how early we were to the internet part, the e-commerce party, that we managed to get this domain. But there's a good story behind. We initially started in Australia, so we had the .com.au. We were initially Bicycles Online, but to get BikesOnline.com, we actually had to offer the guys a small amount of cash, but we ended up settling for a case of beer as a differentiator.
Oh, that's amazing! So you guys, at the way early days, got Bikes Online for a little bit of cash and a case of beer.
That's it. Yeah.
I guess take me back in time. Where do we want to start this conversation? What was your first foray into kind of the e-commerce world?
Wow. So to go all the way back, I mean, I initially wanted to be a filmmaker when I was at university, but then the thought occurred to me that the defining medium of our age is going to be the internet. And this was kind of like late 90s. So I made a decision to not do film and to kind of throw myself into the world of the internet. And at that time, I joined Real Player, which some oldies might still remember.
Oh, I know it. I remember. I know exactly what it is.
And it wasn't strictly e-commerce, but my first role was to produce the Australian and New Zealand website for Real Player, and also the content that appeared when you opened the Real Player. So it was more like, curating content that was going to be popular. But then it quickly became, during the .com boom and bust, a need to monetize that content and that platform. So I started getting into the sales side of trying to sell media impressions. And then I decided that, these internet companies that aren't making money, they're going to struggle for a period. So I decided to go onto the buy side. So I joined a media agency that was just starting up their first kind of digital department. So there were initially just 3 of us doing digital media planning and buying. And at some point, I decided that this was all going to be done programmatically in the future, and that some robots or AI would be making these investment decisions. I didn't have a crystal ball, but I kind of could see where it was going because it was quite procedural. And I thought, like with my kind of creative background coming from a film background, I thought I should really be on the creative side of the business, not the media side. So I actually ended up moving to China and joining creative agency TBWA, and I spent a lot of years there, kind of doing both creative and media. And e-commerce started to emerge for me when I was in China, and a lot of brands started to ask us, like, hey, how do we sell on Tmall, on Alibaba? How do we sell in WeChat? So my first experience with helping brands with e-commerce was really from an agency services side and within the Chinese ecosystem, which in some ways is a weird parallel universe to what we have here in the West. But it was an incredibly exciting time to be there. And and just huge numbers, both in terms of the audiences as well as the GMV that was going through those sites.
Yeah, I mean, can you just, because we still don't have a parallel to WeChat in the United States or the Western world. Could you kind of explain like what WeChat is to someone that isn't familiar?
Yeah, so it's kind of, you may have heard of it described as a super app in the sense that it combines elements of what we would call, X and Instagram with your daily feed, your social sharing with family and friends. Together, we have a very strong kind of payment and commerce side. So if you imagine if Venmo or Zelle was like an integral part of Instagram or Twitter, that you could just use it to run your life. And it also becomes a platform for even streaming entire shows. So people will go on there and, subscribe to channels and watch a lot of video on there as well. So in that sense, it really is, one app to rule them all. And it's been incredibly popular and innovative.
Yeah, it's got a lot of, like you said, the social media aspects of like X and Instagram, but then the video aspects of YouTube, the buying aspects of almost Amazon, but the Amazon of the Eastern world is Alibaba.
And I think the other thing about WeChat is it's a bit like LinkedIn. Like when you go to an event or you meet Chinese business partners, they always want to trade WeChat. It's not just the business cards. It's almost like the digital business card.
Yeah. So instead of emails, they're getting WeChat.
Yeah, exactly. You're scanning each other's WeChat. That's it.
That's wild. Obviously, talking about WeChat is just such a big player over there. Like, what were some of the other like big differences between the Chinese e-commerce ecosystem and experience and kind of what you had learned or then became to learn more of the Western experience?
Yeah, so I would say two things. One is, in the West, a lot of brands would tend to have their own .com site and invest heavily in that. But in the Chinese ecosystem, you're really investing more in, the platforms like Alibaba or WeChat. And the second part is the social commerce element. And so because those platforms have a very strong built-in social commerce tools, including live streaming, you see a lot more. I think in some ways they're kind of a little bit ahead of the West in the adoption of new technologies, and certainly they're leaning into innovation and risk and just moving faster than what I've perceived in Western markets.
Yeah, I think that it's what we're seeing with there's the newer kind of Whatnot here in America, which is kind of like a social selling kind of app, live streaming app. It's only been popular maybe last year. It really kind of hit the zeitgeist for the more modern digital direct consumer entrepreneur as like another channel. And I know John Roman from BattleBox like is all in on live streaming and whatnot. Like he's like this is going to be the biggest channel for our business outside of D2C, right? But over in China, they've been doing this. They've been doing this for almost 10 years.
Yeah, they have, and they make like the people who are doing it. They're making millions of dollars. I think partly the scale of the population and just how concentrated it is makes logistics a lot cheaper and easier. Mm-hmm. So people in China are kind of spoiled. They can order things and get them the same day. Whereas, in Australia or in the US, the population is really distributed.
Yeah.
And so it can be quite costly to, say, move a bike from the West Coast to the East Coast.
So when did what year did you kind of move on from working in China? And was it a straight transition into BikesOnline?
No, I reached a point in my digital advertising career where I felt that I was starting to stagnate a bit. And I could also see that the platforms were starting to disintermediate the agencies. So if you think about it, at that time, Facebook started to hire a lot of agency creatives and start to go talk directly to brands and say, hey, you don't need an agency. You can just work with us and we'll create the campaign for you. And I just thought, wow, this is probably going to mean the not the complete demise of the advertising agency business, but like it's going to go for a turbulent time. There's going to be a lot of changes. And I also was reaching a point where I think I was close to 40 at that point. I was like having not a midlife crisis, but I was thinking about what's the next chapter for me. Like, I feel like I've kind of mastered this digital advertising thing. I need a new challenge. And I wanted to go to the brand side, so I could learn more about the entire business and influence the entire business, not just the marketing communications aspect of it.
Absolutely. And that's, did you reach out to BikesOnline? Did they reach out to you? How did that opportunity come to fruition?
I actually joined a beer company before joining BikesOnline. So one of Australia's biggest brewers was looking to export craft beer and wine into China and other global markets. And being from Australia and already living in China, it was a really good opportunity for me to leverage my strengths. And it was a great 3 years of my life. We opened a lot of brew pubs in Shanghai, Beijing, Hong Kong, Taipei, as well as other cities around the world. And it really taught me a lot about the overall business. And e-commerce was a small part of that. We were still primarily talking about on-premise and supermarket distribution, but it was a real eye-opener in terms of moving from a services industry to the movement of physical goods, especially beer, which has quite a short shelf life. So we're talking about, by the time it gets to market, it's already consumed 3 months of its 9-month shelf life. So we had to develop 12-month versions. So it was a real eye-opener for me in terms of the logistics and operational side of that business. Whereas I think in agency life, you really just focus on people and hours and winning awards through the work. You don't have to deal with a lot of the other issues that come when you're sitting at the top of an operation.
Yeah. For any listener out there, the biggest headache for running a service business is the people. Then on the product side of things, it's like then it comes to like inventory concerns, like you said, and it's also just like the cash gets tied up in inventory, and it's hard. It's at that point the more difficult things is like your cash flow and how to like consistently be reinvesting without going broke.
That's it. It's really a cash management game, especially in the current environment where there's so much uncertainty around what's going to happen with tariffs or other things that could impact the business.
Hey everybody, just a quick reminder, please like this video and subscribe if you haven't. We're releasing interviews like this every week, so don't miss out. Now back to the interview. Now, were you hired like with the title Chief Operating Officer, or how did your role come about?
Yeah, so our founders, we have two founders, and they both share the CEO role, so they're co-CEOs. And during COVID, the business was one of the beneficiaries of the lockdown. Everyone wanted to get a bike and go cycling because it was one of the socially permissible ways to exercise. And so the business was growing really strongly, and they decided to hire a COO to help run the business day to day, so they could spend more time focusing on strategy and M&A and stuff that they enjoy doing.
Absolutely. And so did you join the company like during the pandemic, like 2020?
I did. Actually, when I went for the interview, we were the only people in the entire office. All the desks were empty. I think it was one of the first or second lockdown had just kind of finished, but people were still largely working from home and avoiding face-to-face contact if they could. So it was quite a eerie first interview, but we hit it off, and joined during COVID.
Absolutely. And then so as you kind of got your feet wet selling bikes online, first, I think that they are large products. They are expensive to ship. While the brand was a bit more mature, I think there were still some annoyances to selling bikes online.
It's not the easiest product to sell online. It's big and bulky, like you said. I think some people in the logistics industry call it dirty freight. It's a lot of the carriers don't want to deal with it, and their pricing structures reflect that. So, yeah, the logistical challenges are a pretty big, disincentive for those looking to enter into it. But we've spent a lot of time on packaging and how to get the bike into the box in a format that is still customer friendly. So when they open it up, they can still complete the build. It's not, some of those IKEA builds, you actually have to look at the manual and spend hours putting it together. With our bikes, it's 95% ready. So when you get it out of the box, it's just put on the handlebars, put on the pedals, and the front wheel, and you're ready to go. So we've tried to build a bit more of a moat around the business for how we, look at that customer experience, how we try and create more operational excellence in terms of that, getting the bike to them and supporting them through the build and any kind of issues they might face post the build.
Now, what other, obviously that's one way that you tried to help improve the operational efficiency of BikesOnline. What were some of the other challenges that you got to help lead up and make some progression on?
So I think one of the biggest things that we've done is we looked at, how do we get all our data together into a dashboard that could help the different teams understand what's the score? Are we winning this game or not? And so building a BI dashboard was one of the first priorities. And we ended up doing it ourselves rather than using, an existing tool like Tableau. So one of the guys in our warehouse, actually, I found out that he was a computer science major. I was like, oh, dude, you should be, helping us out with building this dashboard. And he did a great job. And we call it our power meter. And it actually brings together everything from, our marketing spend to the sales, to the margin we're making per product, to what's happening in our warehouses, like what's it we're waiting to be picked, and MPS. Everything kind of flows into one place. So we just keep it running all day long on our computers. We're always constantly looking at it to assess the health of the business and the state of the game. So that was a big game changer. And I think the second one was looking at where we were as a business. We have very strong supplier relationships, but we didn't have a lot of suppliers. So we were high supply concentration, and that's fine when things are going well. But just thinking ahead how to future-proof the business, we decided that we need to have a bit more resiliency in our supply chain. So we've been actively looking at trying to source a few more suppliers. So we have geographical distribution. So now we can get bikes from Europe or Asia. And that just helped us a little bit in terms of what's happening now with tariffs. We have options. And lately we've also been looking at domestic sourcing more and more because there's some amazing distressed inventory deals out there. And sometimes that's even more compelling than importing containers.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that the trade wars on a more expensive item such as a bicycle, you definitely get a little bit more impacted there. So if all of your source came from one of those countries affected by those tariffs, that could instantly eat up all your margin.
Yeah. In fact, the high value of the products also introduces some other challenges, like in terms of when we have a high return rate, that could really hurt us. And so, incidences of fraud, when it hurts us, it's like, $1,000, $2,000 bike. It's obviously different from losing a $30 or $40 product. So we put a lot of focus on how can we reduce returns by improving the packaging, reducing damage in transit, helping customers pick the right size so they don't order the wrong size. And that's been a key focus for the business is how do we make sure that when the bikes go out, they don't come back.
Yeah, I could see that. Trying to keep that lowering the return rate is free margin essentially.
Mm-hmm. That's it.
Hey, everybody. Eugene hit me up once we were done recording the first part of this and had some other ideas of topics he wanted to cover. So we wanted to kind of dive into those today and add them to that recording. So, Eugene, you recently migrated BikesOnline to Shopify. Can you talk about what led to that decision? What were some of the issues you were trying to overcome from that previous platform, and what made Shopify stand out against some of the other competitors in the market? Sure.
We were an e-commerce platform called Neto, Neto, which back in the day it started in Australia, and back in the day it might have been top 5 kind of choice. But they got acquired by Maripost, which is a Canadian e-commerce cloud. And what we found was over time, we were outgrowing it as a business. So as we started to become kind of a 8-figure type business, a lot of the functionality that we wanted in the e-com platform just was not in the pipeline. And it would, like, every integration was requiring like a custom integration, 20 to 40 grand in agency fees each time. And so the cost of operating it was growing, and we just felt that to future-proof the business, we needed to look at changing to a more modern e-commerce platform. And I think Shopify has just improved in leaps and bounds too, like compared to 5 years or even 10 years ago. It's really made inroads into the enterprise end of the market. And I think for businesses like ourselves, it was really attractive from the ability to kind of plug and play more different apps to gain features very quickly out of the box without having to go through the painful integrations. Or so we thought. In practice, it hasn't quite been that seamless, but we can talk more about that. But yeah, we made the decision to move, and for us, when we were on Neato, one of the advantages of Neato was that it's a all-in-one system. So you don't have a separate ERP. Neato is your ERP, and it is also your front end. So that was one of its strengths. And for us, shifting to Shopify meant having to select an ERP, and it was, I would say, that decision that was perhaps not as easy as moving to Shopify. And we had to look at a variety of different ERPs like NetSuite and Sin7, and eventually we settled on Brightpearl, which is part of the Sage family, because we were already using Inventory Planner. And, compared to the cost of NetSuite, which you then need to pay extra for to actually get it to work the way you want, we thought Brightpearl was perhaps a bit more right-sized for our business. I think the difference between having it all in one and then having a separate ERP, it's quite a lot of work to get it to play nicely together. So just getting data to flow between Shopify and our ERP Brightpearl has been probably one of the biggest challenges of the migration, one of the biggest kind of time sucks in terms of management effort and troubleshooting across the different departments from operations, technology, and finance. Yeah,
but it's once it works, the beauty of it though, and that's like you said, right sized. And as you're getting into that 8-figure realm, like ERPs and things that integrate with Shopify but aren't core to Shopify become a bigger piece of the puzzle, and you truly need to, I'm assuming you guys didn't go it alone. Did you hire agencies to help you with some of these very specific kind of pain points you were looking to solve and integrate?
We did. As you can imagine, we tend to run a pretty lean team, and the team's always maxed out. So when you're trying to do a big project like this, it's really helpful to have an agency involved. They've done it many times before across different types of clients. So they really brought that breadth of expertise, that gave us the confidence to embark on such a major project. So I think that extra resource and the expertise was really, really, really helpful. And but building the front end with the agency was the easy part. It's really getting the back end to work the way it's supposed to work after you relaunch the site. Just simple things like doing pre-orders, which we love because it's great for cash flow. And we've got bikes on that. We have really long lead times with getting bikes from when we order to market. So we like to sell them before they're in the warehouse. But the complications of that, you're selling inventory that hasn't been received. And then the plus, if someone cancels their pre-order and then you have to refund their money, making sure that the plus ones and minus ones that happen on Shopify flow through to the ERP, that was not as straightforward as we thought to get that to happen. And so you get all these discrepancies at the end of the month, and then it creates a lot of just really draining on finance and operations to go into every single case and try and work out, where's this discrepancy coming from? And so we have discovered there's quite a lot of hidden costs. So to get Brightpearl to work with Shopify, we have to buy or subscribe, I should say, to certain connectors by other third parties such as B Solutions. So that adds to the overall cost of operating it. But I think if you're going to go into a migration like this, you just need to be aware that it's not going to be a 3 to 6 month job and you're done. Like getting it live, then there's a whole nother year of getting it right.
Yeah, I think that what excites people about a migration isn't necessarily like making everything work the right way and like fixing all these core problems, which are usually like the business case to make the move. They're excited about the design phase and making something look cool and having that be on the .com, which isn't when the project is done. All of that design needs to now work, which takes a lot of strategic planning and thought and troubleshooting and figuring out these weird edge cases that you got to work through. And it's tedious. It
is. I mean, I'll just share one other story where we recently wanted to try charging for shipping protection. And the reason for this is, like many businesses, we're seeing consumer behavior is leading to a higher rate of returns and exchanges. So as people become more comfortable shopping online, I guess that they're ordering more, but they're also looking to return or exchange more. And we've also had incidents of damage in transit because when you're shipping a bike in a cardboard box, it doesn't always get handled the way you would like it to. And this creates a lot of tickets for customer service. So we've thought, let's try and automate it. Let's try and turn what is a cost into something that pays for itself or potentially even a new revenue stream. And there's a lot of apps that you can turn on for Shopify to do this. But it broke our shipping calculator. So on day one, when we ran the trial, everyone was getting free shipping. We're like, oh, geez. So it's always something unexpected. So I think the idea of a simple plug and play integration is perhaps a bit of a misnomer. It's you really have to kind of test and also make sure that the different teams are trained beforehand, and there's a lot of collaboration and consultation on what is the process, because everything you add impacts that process and that workflow, and you need to make sure that everyone's going into that with their eyes open, or you run into a lot of internal conflict.
I have been in business for nearly 20 years, and very few companies I have hired in that time have performed as well as Electric Eye. They have knowledgeable staff, and our project was delivered on time and on budget. Electric Eye has exceeded my expectations, and I look forward to working with them again. That is a direct quote from one of our clients at Electric Eye. Electric Eye is a Shopify Plus partner that has helped over 100 brands migrate, redesign, and optimize their stores since 2016. If you'd like to increase your conversion rate, average order value, and revenue per session, we are the true Shopify experts you've been looking for. Right now, we're offering a free diagnostic to qualified brands that reach out and mention the podcast. Visit electriceye.io today to schedule a call and send us a message. Find out why we have over 50 5-star reviews in the Shopify partner directory. Again, that's electriceye.io, electriceye.io. You're investing in paid traffic, email, influencers, you're doing everything, but your store's still not converting like it should. That's the hidden cost nobody's talking about. If you don't know why people aren't buying, you're constantly losing money. Whenever conversion rate optimization comes up with brands, the first thing I ask them at the agency is what they are using for analytics and behavior tracking. Heatmap.com is my go-to recommendation because it's the only platform I've seen that connects user behavior directly to sales. That kind of visibility is critical for e-commerce brands trying to grow. I tell every brand that we work with to install Heatmap. It shows you what's working and what isn't using real behavior data tied directly to revenue. You get live heat maps, session recordings, funnels, and attribution down to specific product pages. This isn't just another analytics dashboard, it's a revenue optimizer. And right now, Honest E-commerce listeners get the hookup. They get a 14-day free trial. They get access to their ultimate 150-point CRO checklist. And as a bonus, you'll get a free setup by us over at Electric Eye when you ask for us to do so. So stop wasting another dollar guessing. Visit heatmap.com/honest. That's HEATMAP.com/HONEST and start seeing what your customers see, because clarity truly equals revenue. So you mentioned earlier you used agencies to help you with the migration. Did you use the same one to help you with kind of the ERP stuff, or did you have kind of two specialists?
So the agency that we used, they recommended who we should talk to for ERP, but they left that decision up to us. I think every business is different, and I really wish Shopify offered an integrated ERP solution. But every time I asked them, they said it's so bespoke. Every business wants something different that they just want to stay out of it. Although I hear there is a company called Good Day that is trying to build specifically for Shopify merchants. Looking forward to seeing what they have. But we did use agencies for other aspects where we lack the internal expertise, or we just don't have, the teams are just too stretched to research and do that job effectively. So, even for things like conversion rate optimization or optimizing our email strategy, we will turn to agencies to give us that expertise and that boost. And in other areas where we used to use agencies, like for our campaign management, like all our Meta and Google used to be outsourced. Same with SEO, but we've recently in-housed that under our growth team. So I think things that we need 365 days of the year, we're now finding it's more cost efficient for us to do that in-house. And especially as some agencies, they kind of outsource it to people in cheaper countries anyway. So why not just hire some of those people directly? That's been working for us on the things we need every day. But for things that we need fractional or project based, then I think agencies still have a really powerful role to play. And there's a particular type of expert whose worth is maximized working in an agency rather than in a business like ours. So for us to tap into that kind of expert, we have to go to agencies.
Yeah, I think that at a certain point, and I would maybe even argue, it is around that 10 million, maybe beyond that threshold, when you're talking 8 figures, well into that kind of a mature growth stage of a business, it does make a lot more sense to hire a full-time expert to do it, as opposed to, having an agency. There's pros and cons to both. And there's a lot of people that like it to be lean, and they'll, it's not overpaying, because it's just, are they generating value to offset the investment? But I definitely see that as you go up market with a business and how large that business is. A lot of things that maybe an agency would have done for a smaller business, they have in house, like paid ads, like email management. I know some businesses that have full design development teams on staff because they're doing so many iterative changes to their Shopify store. And it just, you need to look at the P&L, you need to look at your expenses and see, can I get similar value on staff for less money for some of these things?
Yeah. And sometimes, solving the problem faster, more than pays for the agency. Sometimes it's a wiser decision to, hire an agency and just get it done, get it done faster.
Yeah. Because your problems are just unique to you and you're experiencing it once, but an agency is working with dozens of clients at a time. So their learnings are coming in 12 times, faster. And it is often that they know exactly what's going on, as opposed to having to troubleshoot it.
That's a good point. I think that that external perspective is often, undervalued. And, when you're working in a single industry just day in, day out, and you're only looking at your own business and your competitors, it's you get a little bit blinkered. You don't really see the parallels or learnings that you could get from adjacent or even completely different industries. And I think agencies often bring that valuable perspective of, well, here's a methodology or best practice that comes from automotive or comes from insurance that could be helpful for your business in terms of driving better monetization of the database or ideas like that.
Yeah, and then another thing is just, you kind of alluded to it earlier, is just having that true expertise so you can get something done the right way the first time, and that time to value on that investment in, either a new application or SaaS product for the business or just a new strategy that you're executing. Hiring someone that's done it before, as opposed to having your team learn it and fail through it, you can get something, live in a month that's bringing you back value, as opposed to failing through it for 3 months and not, really seeing the ROI. And that's the difference.
That's it. I think a lot of clients, they think, let's use an agency for the first stage of the project, and then our internal team can learn and maybe take it on from there, or get the agency to build and then internal to maintain and optimize.
Yeah, we see a lot of people recently have been reaching out about like, hey, we're looking to learn more about XYZ. It's had us as an agency, as like we evolve in the market and learn about, how to best position ourselves and be of value to some of these businesses. I don't think coaching is ever something we wanted to do, but, does it make sense? Does it lead to more business down the line? You got to keep these things open.
AI is a great example of that. I mean, we tried to learn everything about AI ourselves and build our own tools. And we're reaching a stage now where we're recognizing that it's perhaps better to buy instead of build, because you've got entire teams of AI experts out there who are just living and breathing AI every day and are on top of all the latest tools. And what limited resource we have internally just can't do what they're able to do, right? So I think there's a strong argument to not always build everything in-house, but to look at where there are pockets of expertise externally and pockets of funding and energy, because there's a lot of funding going into AI research and prototyping at the moment. It's like for a company our size, it makes a lot of sense to partner for that and get access to it earlier.
Absolutely. What else are you and the team prioritizing these days?
Well, now that we're on Shopify, it's almost like there's too many good ideas. Like there's so many feature requests coming from all the different teams that, our Asana board for things we'd like to do, it's like over 30 line items. And so we've really had to, think long and hard about how do we prioritize this? Like what's got the biggest impact to the business, and how easy is it to execute? Like it might have a big impact, but it's going to take 12 months and it's super complicated and might go pear-shaped. So that's perhaps is not highest priority, given something that is super easy to execute and might only have a moderate impact. So we're developing our system of, I would say, evaluating opportunities and prioritizing them, like building a business case for each, training our teams on how to think about the issues and the ideas and to actually put dollar value against each solution, and then to build a bit of a resource plan against each, so that we can have alignment between different stakeholders on, okay, why your idea is not in the top 3, at least for this quarter. But we've had to get quite ruthless with the prioritization. I think we try not to do any more than 3 initiatives per quarter to keep it manageable. But with that has come a need to really formalize how we work. So we have to update our SOPs. We have to kind of embed the new tools that we're using. So I mentioned earlier we're using Asana. That's something we've had for a long time, but it wasn't core to how we work. And now we're trying to really embed that in the business, make sure that it's what we're using for document sharing and workflow management, rather than pinging each other on email or Slack and saying, hey, could you do this or can you do that?
So I just want to put this out. Like what I just heard you say is you guys built a $10 million plus business without a project management tool, just with email and direct messages.
Well, we did have it. We just weren't using it to its full value. I'll put it that way.
Yeah. I mean, they're all quirky. I remember when we first kind of went down that rabbit hole for our business, we tried them all. We tried Asana, Monday, a more bespoke one just for agencies. And I think that what happened was we got sick of trying new ones, and we just said Basecamp works well enough. That's what we've been doing for 8 years. If it's not broke, don't fix it.
That's when you asked earlier, what are we prioritizing? That's kind of one of the themes for the last 3 months and the next 3 months, which is, let's try and minimize making changes to the tech stack. Like a lot of it is not perfect, but it's better just to kind of work with what we have and get better at using it than to keep adding new things. So we're trying to keep the main thing the main thing.
Yeah, we're huge fans of Kanban charts at the agency for prioritization, but also a little more nuanced than that. If we're like talking about maybe more like a CRO for like, here's a bunch of ideas we have for tests. Like we're fans of like the ICE kind of way of thinking about stuff. So it's like impact, confidence, and ease of like implementing whatever this idea is. And it helps take a list of ideas or direction or, or whatever, and try to put some science behind it, even though you are kind of just making up some of these numbers.
Yeah, it might be a little bit back of the napkin, but CRO is a great example. Actually, that's probably another one of our major priorities at the moment. Is we really want to get better at product discovery, so improve the shopping experience by surfacing the right products to the customers. We've been growing our product range and getting more into parts and accessories, not just bikes, but our product recommendation engine has fallen behind. Like a lot of customers aren't even aware that we sell these products. And within cycling, there's so many different disciplines. Like gravel cycling is completely different from road cycling or mountain biking or, riding a dirt jumper. And so each of those riders wants to see different products. So how do we get better at identifying their needs and showing them the correct product? So, it goes back to during migration, we found that one of the biggest drags on the migration timeline was product data and just having to clean it up and optimize it and recategorize it, so that it would work with the new website and the new menu. But now we're getting into how we actually surface those different subcategories of products to the right type of rider.
Yeah, I think product discovery is a bigger pain for more mature businesses than for younger businesses, because they realize selling more to those people being their customers, like they're like, there is absolutely opportunity here, because you just see how those powerhouses like Amazon and Walmart do it, and you're like, we aren't even close to being that good.
Yeah. I mean, when you look at the returning customer numbers and the customer lifetime value, there's clearly opportunities to improve, and it's one part driven by having the right range. You need to have the right products first.
Yeah.
But then the second part is, how do you get them in front of the right people?
Yeah. And it's, while I'm a huge fan of Shopify's search and discovery tool, I have learned more recently that this is definitely an area where it is falling a bit behind, and there are more mature solutions in the ecosystem.
I'd love to hear more about that, because we're working with Algolia.
That's one of them. Yeah, there's that. I've heard some good things about Nosto. I basically heard it can do whatever you want if you tell it what to do.
Right.
And then there's a few other ones, like Search Spring, I know, is another player in that space. And it's funny that these are all evolutions of kind of more search oriented things that have now pivoted into also discovery of product. But it all is like search, sorting, filtering. It's all just helping the customer get to the product that's going to solve for their need. They all just have like little quirky ways of thinking about it.
Yeah, it's one of the major costs of running a website is the internal search. It's very important to pick the right partner there. We didn't implement Algolia that well. So when we initially launched, our website was making far too many calls. Like if you were typing in a word, like for every letter you were typing, it was initiating calls, so which cost us money on the back end. So we've had to optimize how that triggers, like, whether it's like, wait till you type in 3 letters or have a bit of a time delay. So it's not like making call.
Yeah, that's such an interesting challenge. And that's what happens, like you said, almost at the beginning of the conversation about the migration to Shopify. It's like you were looking to move away from this more bespoke solution because everything was super expensive to integrate. Now, things are not as expensive because most things integrate with Shopify, but still at the size to get the things you want, it's still a little bit more bespoke. And there still is customizations with using these off-the-shelf solutions.
For sure. Yeah. But I think also the way that they bill, like the whole SaaS model of having to, predict your usage and commit to that upfront, it's really annoying. I wish it was more kind of pay as you go, like genuine pay as you go, because they always like
Well, they can't do that because they can't get investment on their next round if they don't prove recurring revenue.
Well, what I really hate about it is this punitive rate. Like if you said you're going to use 30,000 search units and you go over, like, okay, now at this point I'm giving you more business. Why is it costing me more per search unit than it should actually get cheaper the more you use, right? Because you're becoming a economy of scale.
Awesome. Now, Eugene, we chatted about almost as much stuff as we chatted about the first time today, which is lovely. This is going to be a long, fun episode. I asked you at the end of the first conversation, but we're probably just going to replace it with this one.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you'd like to leave our listeners with today to kind of help them in their journey, in their kind of careers here in e-commerce? Any parting advice?
Sure. I think at the moment we're all challenged with just exceptional levels of uncertainty in the operating environment, and there's trade wars, there's inflation fears. We're not sure how the consumer is going to react. We have potential supply chain disruption. And it's like, well, it's really stressful. I'm not sure if it's keeping you up at night, but it does keep me up at night. But I think the important thing is not to panic and try not to make big bets either way, because a lot of these tariff announcements can be reversed unexpectedly and are being challenged legally. So it's really hard to predict. But it's almost like you're in a big dark room where someone's turned off the lights suddenly. It's like you can't just stand there. You have to kind of edge your way forward with your hands out and feel your way forward, right? So I think it's about preparing for different scenarios. And it is helpful to build some cash reserves in case you do have to pay more for tariffs, or in case there's opportunities to acquire distressed inventory. I would look at free trade zone and bonded warehouses to perhaps help with cash flow, delay those tariff payments. But overall, just try to do less, focus on the main thing, stay calm, don't panic. And just to put into context, we all got through COVID. COVID seemed like the end of the world. It was like zombie apocalypse by comparison. This is we'll get through this.
Oh yeah, we'll get through it. I just want to shout out 2 other episodes that I've recorded. I had Izzy from Portless on, and he talked at length about ways to navigate tariffs. And was very honest in the fact that he's like, yes, my business can be a solution, but here are other solutions that don't have anything to do with my business. And that's useful to help you get a little bit more clarity around maybe navigating kind of that particular subject. And then Eugene alluded to earlier about an ERP being built for Shopify. I actually interviewed, he's an ex-Chubbies gentleman and the founder of Good Day Software. That is on the feed as well. And that's useful to kind of go down that rabbit hole and learn. And if you're exploring ERPs, I'm sure he'd love to talk to you as well. Other than those people, Eugene, how do people get a hold of you online if they want to follow you on LinkedIn or reach out about a bike?
So I'm on LinkedIn, and they can also just email me at eugene@bikesonline.com. Very simple.
Awesome. Eugene, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you, Chase. It's been a pleasure.